Welcome to part 2. Fresh energy, same mission. We're shifting from what's slow to why it's slow. We'll turn broad findings into targeted investigations. Which resources, APIs, countries, or versions are the real culprits, and what to fix first. So far, we've used the default dashboards to identify slow pages and heavy resources. But what if you want to go further, to answer questions unique to your business? Things like, do premium users experience slower checkout times? Or does performance drop during peak hours? That's where the RUM Explorer comes in. Before getting started, do not hesitate to subscribe to our blog or join our community for additional tips I do not share on YouTube. If you've watched our other Datadog tutorials, you're already familiar with the interface. But let's explore the RUM Explorer in more depth. This is where you can go beyond the default dashboards and analyze performance across any dimension you care about: user tier, number of cart items, session duration, or even time of day. It's a flexible way to understand how your platform behaves under different real-world conditions. Previously, we looked at resource dashboards for aggregated insights, great for spotting patterns. But if you need to investigate a single resource or session, say after a user complaint, the Explorer is where you go. Select Explore All Resources, and Datadog will surface every resource event, complete with contextual metadata so you can trace what actually happened. Inside the Explorer, each resource is connected to its view, which in turn ties back to a user session. This linkage lets you visualize performance from top to bottom, page, session, and resource, all in one place. For example, if you notice an outlier in load time, you can trace it to the specific user session that experienced it and understand exactly what went wrong. It's a powerful way to combine big-picture monitoring with fine-grained debugging. Here's a concrete example. This resource's P75 load time, meaning the 75th percentile, normally sits around 3.7 seconds. But recently it spiked to 11.6 seconds, a 3x increase. That's a red flag worth investigating. Below, I can also view resource counts over time and filter by attributes like response status to narrow the scope of the issue. Filtering by HTTP status helps distinguish between healthy requests, 200, and problematic ones, like 404 or 429 or 499. Next, I can set a filter for load duration above 5 seconds to surface only the slowest resources. This instantly highlights all assets that consistently exceed that threshold, perfect for performance triage. There are many other filtering options too, not just load duration. You can filter by time to first byte, TTFB, DNS resolution time, or any custom attribute you've added through your RUM setup. These filters let you focus your investigation depending on today's goal, whether it's backend latency, network overhead, or front-end rendering. Clicking on any resource opens a detailed view. If the request is linked to a backend service, Datadog automatically connects it to an APM trace, giving you full visibility from front-end to backend. In this case, there's no trace attached. But when there is, it's incredibly helpful for pinpointing end-to-end latency sources. Below that, you'll find session replay information and contextual attributes. Here I can see that this session came from a user in Singapore on 4G using Chrome. That's valuable context. Maybe the issue is tied to mobile connectivity or a specific network. And if I scroll further down, I can even access raw JSON attributes with every relevant detail about the session and request. Exploring data live is great, but you'll often want to save your findings for ongoing monitoring. In Datadog, you can create custom graphs or dashboards directly from any query in the RUM Explorer. This lets you track performance trends and catch regressions long after the initial investigation. Back in our dashboards, we can enrich metrics with custom attributes, like user_ID, account_tier, or session_type. This helps you answer questions like, do premium users experience slower load times because they manage more data? By segmenting by user type, you can see whether performance differences are functional or structural, and optimize accordingly. Datadog's dashboards are highly flexible for analyzing user experience and behavior. For example, you could track whether improving performance for premium users leads to higher conversion rates. Each dashboard also lets you inspect the underlying query, so you can customize metrics and dimensions to match your exact business logic. If the default dashboards aren't enough, you can go back to your resource data and build time series charts yourself. Datadog keeps RUM resource data for 2 weeks by default, allowing you to visualize trends over time, like how a script's load duration changes after each deployment. These time series views aren't limited to load counts. You can chart any metric, like DNS lookup duration or TTFB, across time, and split it by country or device type. For instance, you might notice that DNS resolution is consistently slower in South America, hinting at a potential need for regional DNS optimization. As you can see, I'm currently looking at all resources together, but you can easily narrow the view to a single one if needed. The goal here is flexibility. Datadog's graphs let you ask your own questions. Want to compare performance by country, user type, or device? Just add the filter, and the chart updates instantly. The default Datadog dashboards already give you great insight, but building your own lets you go one step deeper. You can compare performance between different user tiers, regions, or app versions using time series, bar charts, or even ranked top lists. Each visualization helps answer a slightly different performance question, so it's worth experimenting. Let's look at tables for a moment. Here, I'm showing average duration, P90, 90th percentile, and resource counts together, so you can see both the speed and the scale of requests. For instance, China shows a P90 of 480 ms, much slower than Panama. It's also serving many more requests, which could explain the higher latency. Tables like this help you balance frequency and performance impact at a glance. In contrast, Canada loads more resources overall, yet performs better. That suggests the CDN or routing setup there is more efficient. Comparing regions side by side like this often reveals infrastructure optimization opportunities that aren't obvious from averages alone. Here's another great view. Plotting P50, P75, and P90 in the same graph gives a clear sense of performance distribution. As always, any of these graphs can be saved to a dashboard for later reference. Before we move on, let's quickly look at the geomap view, one of my favorites for visualizing regional performance differences. On the geomap, you'll see color-coded regions. Greener areas indicate faster load times, while redder ones highlight slower experiences. You can also explore tree maps or pie charts to visualize proportions, like which domains or resources contribute most to load. And as with any visualization, you can save it to a dashboard, export it to a notebook, or even turn it into a monitoring alert. The takeaway here is that you're not limited to Datadog's defaults. If you've enriched your RUM data with custom attributes, like user tiers, sessions, or business KPIs, you can create completely custom graphs and dashboards around them. This flexibility makes Datadog RUM not just a monitoring tool, but a real analytics workspace for performance engineering. Before we wrap up dashboards, there's one last topic that often gets overlooked, but can quietly hurt user experience: long tasks. A long task is any operation that blocks the main UI thread for too long. On web, it could be a heavy script freezing your browser. On mobile, it's like a frozen frame where the screen stays unresponsive for more than 300 milliseconds. Let's take a look at how to analyze them. At the bottom of the web app performance dashboard, there's a section called Long Task Analysis. This area breaks down all events where the main thread was blocked, often due to heavy JavaScript execution or excessive rendering work. Here we can see how often these long tasks occur and how much time they consume, giving us a clear picture of which actions cause sluggishness in the UI. Here we can see specific long tasks tied to user actions, like clicking a button or loading a view. Just like with resources, we can investigate these at the session level or visualize them in dashboards over time. Each task includes detailed timing breakdowns, so you can identify whether it's a single script, a layout recalculation, or something else that's freezing the UI. And of course, you can pin or save these insights to dashboards for ongoing monitoring. Here again, we can tie long tasks back to user context. For example, this session came from Singapore, where the user was on 4G. By combining long task details with location and device data, we can see whether slow interactions are linked to specific conditions like network speed or device capability. It's a reminder, don't overlook these events. They often explain subtle user-facing lags that traditional metrics miss. Up until now, we've focused on web applications, but the great thing is that Datadog RUM behaves almost identically for mobile apps. If you already know how to analyze web performance, moving to mobile is completely seamless. The same principles, just adapted to mobile-specific metrics. To see this in action, head to Integrations, RUM Mobile. You'll find a set of pre-built dashboards designed specifically for mobile apps. If we open the mobile app performance dashboard, you'll notice it looks familiar. The layout is nearly identical to the web version, just with metrics that make more sense for mobile environments. You'll see similar visuals, but the metrics change slightly. Instead of core web vitals, mobile dashboards focus on mobile vitals, things like frozen frames, slow renders, memory usage, and ANR, app not responding events. These metrics reflect how smooth the in-app experience feels, helping you detect performance issues unique to mobile devices. Of course, crashes are another critical metric on mobile. Just like on web, you can drill into individual sessions, replay user journeys, and correlate crashes or freezes with resource usage. Filtering by application or user helps you focus on the exact scenarios impacting real users, ensuring you improve the mobile experience where it matters most. Overall, the setup is consistent. Learn it once, and you can use the same workflow across web, iOS, and Android. This unified view makes it easy to compare performance across platforms and ensure a consistent user experience everywhere your app runs. To wrap up, performance is one of the most powerful insights you can gain from real user monitoring. It helps you ensure your users always get a smooth, responsive experience. No hidden slowness, no surprises. We explored how to go from a global performance overview all the way down to the single resource or user session that explains what's happening. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, stay tuned for more Datadog tutorials. And as always, happy monitoring!